Curious about vegetables? Talk to Iswes Seed. Hello everyone, welcome back to Around the VegTable. At the moment, we have vegetables, so it's good that Kuntop brought the vegetable. Thank you very much. So I'm Lisette Lacambra and your host for this program. So in today's episode, we invited Mr. Zyril John Peralta, a senior specialist of Iswes Seed Group Product Development Support, or PDS, to share about the common types of onion storage structures in different countries. So hello Zai, welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine.
Doing fine?
Hello.
Healthy, awesome, good,
Yeah.
energetic?
Some awesome, maybe.
Some awesome. Okay, thank you very much Zai for joining us today. So I'll throw now the floor for your presentation. You're also, you can share your slides now.
So yeah, good morning everyone, and good afternoon also to those who are in Asia. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity to really share the information about our storage varieties of onions and how they are doing this, how they are doing the structures in different countries. But mainly this is only India and then Philippines also. So but before I start, so I would like to add the introduction. So I'm Zyril, so I'm doing the group PD. So I joined the group in 2021. So this information are actually those I have gathered from the past visits. So without further ado, I think it's now good to start. So yeah, for the outline of the discussion, so I will give a brief overview of our East-West seed onion portfolio, mainly in terms of the segment, which also talks about the season, and also the market scope or the location where we normally sell this type of onions. But main highlight would be post-harvest handling, which will deal with the storage structures. So by the way, if you have any questions, you can just put on the chat box, and then we will later on read it and answer. So yeah, let's proceed first with the segments. So these are the segments mainly for onions. So we have the short day, we have the intermediate, and the long day. So their differences varies with the day length requirement. So for the short day, normally this applies for location which has 10 to 12 hours of day length. So which countries we have the short day? These are, say for example, Philippines. During October up to February, so we are experiencing the day length of 10 to 12 hours. So India also, most of the countries where we are operating, we normally have the short day condition. So other segments, intermediate and then the long day. Intermediate has 12 to 14 hours of day length requirement, while for the long day, there is a requirement of 14 to 16 hours of day length during the bulbing stage. So basically, onion is a day length sensitive crop. So as for East-West seed, normally we are only dealing with a short day, not in the intermediate and the long day. So under the short day dry segment, we have the short day dry red. So here you can see this is the short day dry, and then for the short day yellow, we have short day dry red, we have the Super Yali we are selling, and then short day dry yellow, we have the Sabrina Santa Ana we're selling in Latin America and some parts of Middle East also, and in Philippines, and then short day white we're selling in Latin America. So this is being sold in Mexico. So we have the short day rainy, but short day rainy red, which is present in India, and then some parts of Africa, some parts of West Africa, but we don't expect storability for this type of segment. And then for the storability, we will just cover with the short day dried because we cannot expect short day rainy red to have the storability. But also the short day dry yellow and short day white, normally we don't store this for long period of time. Unlike the short day dry red that we really have, there's really a market requirement for the storability features of the variety. Just to give you an overview, so this is the harvesting they are doing in India. So in a short day dry season, so I mean cool dry season. So upon maturity, they will uproot the variety and then the crop, and then they will leave it in the field for 2 to 3 days with this kind of strategy, and then they will cover the bulbs with these grasses, and then after 3 days, they will start cutting it. Yep, so this is the practice in India. And then the next is, this is another practice in Philippines. So in Philippines, normally the indication is that once the variety experience the top down, so they will uproot this crop, and then they will directly cut it. They cannot. It's not possible to leave the onions on the field because of problems with security. There are some issues of stealing bulbs, which is why they cannot leave it on the field. Yep. So now we can now proceed with the storage structures. So yeah. So as what I mentioned, so normally in for East West seed, we only have we focus with the short day dry red, which is a basic market requirement for the storage market. So, but for the yellow and for the white, we don't expect them to have a very long storage ability. This is the first type of ambient storage type that I would like to share with you. So as you can see, this is a very simple one. So this you can look at the roof. The roof is made of ACC, so this is asbestos 7 roofing. So this keeps the room as cool as it is, and then also there is a good ventilation. So they use the bamboo to have the wall on it. Plus the roofing is also high enough to have the good ventilation. So normally for this type of structure, they can prolong the bulbs at least for 4 months. I would say 4 to 6 months. Another structure we have is this one. So as compared to the other one, so in terms of volume, the volume here is very high. I mean, the owner of this type of structure is an exporter. So what they do is that they consolidate all the bulbs from the farmers, and then they will try to sort it here. And then some of the big bulbs they will export, while some of the bulbs that are smaller than those for export. Because for the export market, there is a different size requirement. But then for the fresh market or the wet market or the local market, I mean, the size preference also varies. So normally they will keep it like this. They will put inside the red bag. Yeah, also in terms of the roof, so this they put it some plastic covers to keep the room temperature not too high. And yeah, the ventilation is really good. Same with the first structure. I mean, this structure can have like 4 months on the average, 4 months storage ability, 4 months of period to store the bulbs also. And then another type which is I like because this is another storage we saw I think last year. So as you can see, one structure can contain around 1 ton of bulbs. In terms of the dimension for this storage, I think the height would be 5 feet, and then the diameter is around 1 meter. So as you can see, that's a 1 ton. And then same with the other structures, it can contain 1 month, but the advantage of this one is the easiness of removing the rotting bulbs, because in a duration of 4 months, you also have farmers would also have to check if there are rotting bulbs within that 4 months. So normally they do it twice a month to remove the rotting bulbs, just to keep the other marketable bulbs longer in the storage. Yeah, and also so this kind of structure is we saw in Maharashtra also. So among this storage, I think most of the storage types in India are really into the ambient storage. So like unlike in Philippines that they have the cold storage. But what's the differences in terms of ambient and cold storage is that in ambient storage you have higher losses as compared to the cold storage. So this is what I'm talking about, the cold storage facility in Philippines. So in Philippines, normally the practice is that starting from April, after harvesting, so they will start to put the sorted bulbs in the storage. So also in a cold storage facility, you can expect a longer storability than the ambient one. So in cold storage facility, at least 6 months, farmers can keep the bulbs inside the storage. And then once it's pulled from the storage, then the farmers would have to sell the produce in a month. So this is one kind of a facility in Philippines. So yeah, in Nueva Ecija, where the growing area really is located. So the system is that government helps in financing, especially like the past year that the country experienced a very high price because of what happened also in terms of the worm infestation plus the climate change. So They didn't expect that the demand is very high and then the supply is very low. So also the farmers are afraid of growing a lot of expanding the area because there is lack of facility. Yeah, so another one I would like to share is this one. This is a trading post in Thailand. So normally they put fan on top of the onions. So this will keep good ventilation and will keep the bulbs within a month. Yep. So I think I already shared those important structures that I have seen. And for me, for final remarks, so number one, it's very important for a variety selection. So you cannot expect same storability with all the varieties that are present in the market. So it's very important that we are knowledgeable of a variety. So I would say that Super Yali in the super dry red segment, we have a very good storability. While that's for the dark red, and for the variety in India, we have the Dayo and the Prathamesh, which we are selling in India. So I think we are also selling that one in West Africa. Yeah, so that variety can determine a maximum storability. So normally for 6 months, that's already good for a variety. And then another thing to consider is the location. So the location is very important because it can also determine the accessibility of materials. So say for example in Africa, I have seen a lot of potential for a very simple storability structures which can be applied, like the first structure I have presented. And then also the type of structure, the location. So this can also help in determining the type of structure that is needed in identifying. And then the production volume. So the required facility, the production volume, I mean, so if you are exporter, so you would not invest in a very small structure wherein you will have a lot of facility. But if you have a demand of, like, if you are exporting, so you can consider constructing a very big, or you can also opt to have that cold storage, which will really sustain your market.
Thank you very much, Sai, for that short but it's very informative presentation. We have some questions already, and it feels like we also visited the Philippines
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also India, and knowing how they store their onions. We have 4 questions already.
Yep.
Maybe you're ready to answer
Okay.
answer them. Can the iron sheet be used for the roofing of the structures, which is common and affordable to smallholder farmers here in Nigeria?
Yeah, iron sheet, I would say that it's not actually that advisable to use because it I mean the heat can really penetrate that, and it creates the room temperature a bit hotter, a bit warmer. So if ever you have that one I mentioned, the asbestos, or also if there's no really other you can put on top, like how do you call it?
Like the grasses, dried grasses,
No, I mean
the roof,
the
ceiling.
ceiling, like a ceiling, yeah. But also you have to make sure that there's really ventilation, proper ventilation. Like you can use the first structure that I showed everyone, with they use the bamboo sticks, wherein there's really good ventilation. That's also possible.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Yusuf. You can explore in Nigeria. Next question from Palm, Piawan Pupong from Thailand. If we have a long day period, can we grow the short day variety? How is it different in terms of yield and quality?
Yeah, so the challenge, as I mentioned, because onion is day length sensitive, so there's a possibility that it will bolt if you will grow a variety that is not suitable for that specific season. So like for instance, if you grow that I think super yali in Philippines in the months of June, July, so there's really longer day length than the usual season of that variety. So there's a tendency that it will not form the bulbs, but also it has a tendency that it will bolt because normally longer day length, sometimes it's hotter climate also.
So it
temperature.
will encourage bolting of the
Yeah,
flowering.
yeah. So it can trigger bolting. Wherein if it experiences bolting, you cannot harvest, you
yeah.
cannot get bulbs anymore. So
Yeah, because it also affects the bulbing, right?
yeah, yeah.
The bolting issue will also affect the bulbing size, the bulb
Yes,
size of the onion. So,
correct.
yeah, thank you very much, Palm. I hope that's very clear. Next question from Glorica. Why do Philippines do cold storage for onions?
Yeah, so I think first factor that they use is because of the demand. So because for Philippines, they are not used into growing the onions in the rainy season. So but because there's still demand in the rainy season, so they have to prolong the bulbs to to sustain demand in the whole year round perspective. Yeah. Another thing is that there's really support also from the government. So or also other bank institutions, they are really investing, or they are really lending money to the government or to the farmers, because some organizations, some farmers are really forming a group, so they will have they can have that kind of facility. Yeah.
Okay, that's also good to know, nah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe we can also explore that support from the other countries.
Yeah.
Maybe Katie, as you have also a lot of farmers already growing onion, and that can be also a good way to to linkage with these
Yeah.
organizations that can bring this cold storage facilities
Yep.
to farmers or even the government in the country. Next question from Aliyu. Does variation among months or location have effect on onion storage or storability?
Yeah, so in terms of storability, so it aside from genotypic, aside from the variety itself, yeah, the weather also has an effect. So that's why for those varieties of onions that are being stored, they normally say, for example, in Philippines, like one week before, they will not do the irrigation anymore before harvesting, because otherwise it will it will make the bulbs has higher moisture, because the keynote to have a good storability is also to have a variety that has a lower moisture. So if you can keep the moisture lower for the onions, then it has the ability to 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 be stored longer. Yep.
Okay.
So yep.
So good crop management practices as well is very important to
Yeah.
have that longer storability.
Yeah. So among months, yeah, definitely different months have different rainfall pattern also. So we have to note of that one. So there's really an effect for the storability of the onion.
Interesting. Thank you very much. And thank you, Aliyu, for the question. Next question from Marla, Myanmar. Do you have any findings on how much losses between 2 to 3 days living in the field, India style, and direct cutting Philippine style?
Can she elaborate about
Yeah.
the last one?
Okay. Marla, can you turn on your mic and ask it again, ask your question again?
Saw that your presentation is a different style. In the one is from the India type, and another one is the Philippine style, right? Or the India style is that you don't cut, you leave it in the field 2 to 3 days and dry in the field, right? But for the Philippines, is that you cut directly because you said that you are not safety in the living in the field, right? So that's why I want to know the between two type of the style, which one is like more losses for that post harvest, because in currently in Myanmar is like we are the previous time is we are living in the field 2 to 3 days, but according to the situation we are also not saving to the in the live in the field, so we consider for the those, and we can share to the farmer what is the
Yeah. Oh, I think I understood your question. So basically, what I'm telling of the losses is that some farmers who are not who are leaving the bulbs on the field in Philippines, it has the tendency to be stolen. Yeah. Not really the losses that maybe you were thinking, but because of stealing of the bulbs is very very possible to happen. So farmers would not risk the bulbs, would not risk to leave the bulbs on the field. So they will directly cut it. But important things to note is that farmers will cut it because of there's already top down. So once the onion experience the top down, so it's an indication of also full maturity. So in reality, when it exhibits the top down, it will start to close the neck, and then even if you cut it, it will not sprout. Yeah.
So top down. Thank you, Mala, for the question and your answer, Zyril. I have follow-up question on that because we had the same issue in Africa, I think in Uganda. Bosco, you can also mention this because our farmers there, they don't, like some of them, they cannot wait for the top down because they also have issues in it's being
Stealing.
stolen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you store those, or can we store those, or what is your recommendation if farmers will harvest without the top down, top
Yeah,
fall,
neck fall.
Yeah.
So top down or neck fall. So if we're aiming for storage type onions, so we really have to do the curing. Curing is like what India is practicing. So they don't wait for neck fall, but they wait for they dry the leaves upon uprooting into 2 to 3 days. But like for example, if in Africa they're eyeing to serve the fresh market, so they can
Sell
they can sell it cut
directly.
but don't expect a good storability because it didn't reach the.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can try. You can. So for the farmers in Africa, you can try to do the curing. So if there's, but important is that you have to really look at the rainfall, because otherwise if rainfall happens within the 2 to 3 days of drying, then it
Yeah,
will affect
will be
the
lost.
it
Yeah.
will it can cause rotting of the bulbs.
Yeah, I think that will be also related to Marla's question. So if you keep it to 2 to 3 days in the field and suddenly it rained, you didn't know that it will rain,
Yeah.
then that can also contribute to losses,
Yeah,
post-harvest
yeah,
losses
correct.
or rotting. From Bosco, Uganda, is sprouting of onions from stores associated with variety, poor storage systems, or premature harvest?
Yeah, I think you mentioned, sprouting actually. Sprouting, first is that in terms of the variety, so there are really varieties that are not, you cannot expect storability. So in that sense, if say for example Prema you can expect sprouting if, because this variety is really bred for for the rainy segments. So the market that's intended for this type of variety is for the fresh market. So you can really expect sprouting. But also another thing is that if you harvest it premature, so you expect also that sprouting, because as I mentioned, you have to really look at the neck falling of the variety. So say for example the Dayo or the Super Yali. So you really have to wait for the neck to fall or to get it thinner. Or otherwise you can do some curing to really help it prolong the storability.
For ambient storage structure type, how do you detect degradation of bulb given the volume of the bulb in each structure? At least a ton, I think.
Yeah. So based on the farmers' feedback, so normally they are already expert in smelling. So once they smell something rotting, so they can really see it from that structure, from the 1 ton I said. They will just remove it. In terms of smelling, yeah. So they can.
You need to have a sensitive.
Yeah. So that's what we found out last time, because we also asked the same question. So how do you remove then the rotting bulbs? And then they said, yeah, we are already familiar. We can smell it and then remove the bulbs.
Experts.
Yeah, they're real experts.
But how long, na? How many years you need to build that expertise in smelling?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can manage the rotting. what is the optimum temperature range and humidity for better storage condition?
Yeah, so for the ambient storage, so based on the data, the ambient storage requires 25 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. And then in terms of relative humidity, so around 65% to 70%.
Okay.
So that's for the ambient storage. While for the cold storage facility, they're keeping the 0 degrees Celsius temperature throughout the storage.
Is the color of onion like yellow, white, red, depends on day length?
Yeah, so in terms of color, it's varietal actually. So there are really varieties that are yellow in color, white in color, red in color, even dark red, even medium red. So in our breeding program, we have the deeper dark red, we have the dark red, we have the red, we have the medium red. Yeah, but the color itself, it's genetics and doesn't really concern about the day length.
Can we grow onion direct seeding and which season? Do we get the satisfaction or a better yield for direct seeding?
Yes, you can do the direct seeding. So in like say for example in Philippines, there are really season that they do direct seeding, or there are locations that they do direct seeding. But also because you have to invest more seeds of the direct seeding. So I think but you can consider direct seeding if you really have very few also workers. Unlike in transplanting that you really require a lot of workers. So that's another thing to consider. So, but if you are capable of having workers, then better I think you go with transplanting.
Bolting in onion, you mentioned already a while ago. Is it a factor of weather or seed or variety quality?
Yeah, so bolting there are a lot of factors to consider. So variety itself, so some varieties are very prone to bolting. So yeah, identifying specific variety with some bolting tolerance is really it's really good. Also weather, so that comes with the variety. So once the triggering factor is that once there's weather fluctuation, so there's a tendency that the variety can exhibit bolting.
Do we have pesticide that you can apply in the storage when you have insect in the storage house?
It's not actually recommended to apply pesticide for the storable for the onions that are being stored, because in general it's really not that healthy because people will be consuming. But I saw some farmers doing that. They're applying few insecticides, powder insecticides. They will just put to protect, but that's not recommended actually.
Or we can also explore it, Ruth, in your case, maybe some repellent, insect repellent, maybe natural
outside,
repellent,
better.
or anything that can be used instead of spraying pesticides directly to the stored commodity. So it's a good. We still have a lot to learn. We still have a lot to explore actually, and we keep it like contextual, like you mentioned, what the practices of farmers in Nigeria. We can learn from them and also maybe improve from what they are doing already. And same thing also for the other countries. We need to explore, check what is available and what are the farmers' practices, and maybe if it's already working, we can use it. If you see that we need some tweaking or adjustment on their practices, then that's where we can do some experiments or explore our other ways to improve their storage. So I think that ends our session or our episode. Thank you all for all the questions, interesting questions, and thank you again, Cyril, for the presentation. I think I also learned a lot from the presentation, and I hope that this inspires our team in all countries who joined us today to explore what storage types suits their farmers or their locations. So that's the end of our episode. Do you have any questions you would like to be answered in the future episode? Leave your questions in the comment section or contact our technical support hub members in your country. So stay tuned for the next episode of Around the VegTable. Curious about vegetables? Talk to Iswes Seed. Bye!